Good evening, City of Southfield. This is Lloyd Cruz, City Council President, here for the regular meeting of City Council on July 27th, 2020, 6 p.m. via WebEx. Right now, we'd like to begin the meeting by calling the roll. Madam Clerk.
Banks. Present. Brightwell.
He's still on mute.
I see him. Brightwell. Brightwell. He's there.
Yeah, I see him.
Brightwell.
I'm back. Yeah.
Okay. Haskins.
Here.
Mandelbaum.
Present.
Morris.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Cruz.
Present.
Mr. President, we do have a quorum, and we do have our city administration, our mayor, and our city attorney on the line. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll go next into the Pledge of Allegiance. Now recited for us this evening. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This evening we have no presentations, we have no appointments, we have no meeting minutes to approve or a consent agenda. So we're moving right into public hearings, which we have a number of today. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our city planner, Mr. Crow, and his deputy, Mr. Spence, I believe, if he's on too. Mr. Crow, you want to start?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I must have been muted from your end. Good evening. Our first public hearing is TZR 20-0001. Next slide, please. Next slide. There we go. Thank you. It's a rezoning request of Kirby's Coney Island on behalf of the owner, Camtel Inc., to rezone 1.63 acres of land from OS Service to B3 General Business, property located at 26245 Telegraph Road. There also is a component special land use and site plan if this rezoning gets approved by the honorable body tonight. Next slide. This is an aerial of an existing Coney Island there. Future land use supports the rezoning request. Next slide. The current zoning is OS, and if you can see, there's B3 on the north and south side. This is an existing non-conforming situation from years past. The proposed zoning is B3 to make it consistent along Telegraph Road. Next slide. Existing conditions. Next slide. And once we have dealt with the rezoning, the special land use is to add a drive-through component to the existing store. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So with that, before we open the first public hearing, I believe we have Terry Karos on the line representing the applicant who might want to say a few words about the rezoning, the special land use, and the site plan. We'll need to deal with each of those separately tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. This is Terry Kiros. I'm one of the owners of Kirby's. I'm here with my architect, Mike Van Loon. We have an application and a petition to add our drive-through. And I guess through an idiosyncrasy of the older zoning, we have to be rezoned to B3. And with a special use request and the site plan review. We'd appreciate your consideration of the matter. The drive-through is important to us. Drive-throughs are very important to restaurants in general, and especially now through the pandemic and the coronavirus issues, people are getting drive-through more often. They're less likely to come to the restaurants. We want to have added convenience for our customers. They can come in quickly and order food and be on their way. So we're here to answer any questions you might have and to thank you for considering our petitions.
with that, through the chair, I recommend that this might be appropriate time to open the public hearing on the rezoning request only.
(0001), the rezoning request of Kirby's Coney Island on behalf of the owner. If anyone would like to call in or dial in, please do so now on this particular matter, and you will have 3 minutes to speak when recognized.
Mr. President, we have callers that called in. They can speak. They're all unmuted. They can speak one at a time if anybody on the line wants to speak at this time.
Okay. Okay, hearing none, I will deem the public hearing closed. Mr. Crowe.
Again, we're recommending favorable consideration of rezoning 1.63 acres of land from OS Service to B3 General Business, property located at 26245 Telegraph Road.
Okay. Council, start with Madam Banks. Any questions, concerns?
No questions, no concerns. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Mr. Brightwell?
No question.
Okay. Mr. Hoskins?
No question for me. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mandelbaum?
No questions. I think this is a good idea.
Great. Thank you. Ms. Morris?
No questions, thank you.
All right. Thank you. And Ms. Taylor?
No questions either.
Very good. All right, Council, I entertain a motion. Unless, Mr. Crowe, do you have anything else to add?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the request to rezone this particular item.
Support, this is Councilwoman Morris.
All right, been moved by Mr. Brightwell, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve the, I think I moved it to letter B. Hold on one second, make sure I got the right number. PZR 20-001, the rezoning request again for Kirby's Coney Island. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
That's it.
So through the chair, the next action item would be to introduce ordinance number 1725.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell again.
All right, Mr. Brightwell, you can do a little over there. I don't know if as to where your microphone is set up, but so you know, I do believe you asked to introduce ordinance 1725. Is there a second?
I'll support Councilwoman Taylor.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Taylor, that we introduce ordinance 1725. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Hoskins?
Yes.
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
The motion to introduce ordinance 1725 adopted.
All right, thank you.
Through the chair, our next item of business is a special use request of Kirby Coney Island, which is PSLU 20-0005, to expand the use of the property to include a drive-through, property located at 26245 Telegraph Road. As you recall, during our discussion, there's a wall that's required with drive-throughs, but since this was an existing non-conforming situation, that there are only businesses located to the north and south. They do have a wall to the west separating them from residential zoning, and they have agreed to put the required 30-inch hedge along Telegraph Road. We recommend favorable approval. We do need to hold a public hearing, and then be happy to answer any questions that the council may have after the public hearing's been held.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'd like to open up the public hearing for PSLU 20-0005, the special use request of Kirby's Coney Island on behalf of the owner. And if anyone wish to call in at this or speak at this time, you will have 3 minutes on this particular matter. And we'll wait now to see if anyone is available to talk or wishes to talk.
And Mr. President, we did unmute all of the callers, so if someone wanted to talk, they can talk right now. So everybody that called in is unmuted.
Okay.
So we'll wait a minute to see if anyone else calls. Mr. President, it's been a minute, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. I'll move to council. Mr. Brightwell.
But, and Chair, you mentioned the fact hedges along 12 Mile, Telegraph will be, is that correct?
If I heard you correctly, they will be putting the 30-inch required landscaping along Telegraph Road.
Okay.
We're recommending that the council forego the screening on the north and south side of the property.
Okay, now, if I'm coming through, I texted you earlier today, but okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hoskins.
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mondabaugh?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Morris?
No questions for me. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Taylor?
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Banks?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Crowe, anything before we introduce the motion?
Nothing further at this time. Thank you.
All right. Council?
Mr. Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell again, and we approve PSLU 20-005, special use request for the island.
Support. This is Councilwoman Morris.
All right. Mr. Brightwell, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve PSLU 20-005, the special use request of Kirby's Coney Island. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris? Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell? Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Motion is adopted for this.
All right. All right.
And through the chair, the last item regarding Kirby's Coney Island is your consideration of PSP 20-0004, which is a site plan review request to reorient parking and add the drive-through lane.
Okay. Council, want to entertain a motion on this? Or any questions before we do?
No questions. Mr. President, I ask that we would approve PSP 20-0004, a site plan review for Coney Island.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Taylor, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve the site plan PSP 20-004, rezoning request for the Kirby's Coney Island. Madam Clerk, again, would you please call the roll?
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
and Mandelbaum.
Yes.
PSP 20-004. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If we could go to the next slide, please. Through the chair, our next grouping includes PZR 20-0002, which is a rezoning request of Scott Riddle on behalf of the owner, Ready Properties, to rezone 10.7 acres of land from R2 single-family residential and B2 planned business to B3 general business, property located at 27050 West 12 Mile Road. Next slide.
This is about
Again, this is a three-parter, a rezoning request of 10.7 acres, special land use to allow for golf recreation center with restaurant, banquet facilities, meeting room, and lighted driving range, and site plan review. Next slide. This is an aerial of existing conditions, future land use plan. Next slide. Current zoning is a combination of B2. Proposed zoning is the B3 to allow for the recreation use. Next slide. And then this is the site plan, but it shows the properties that are under control by the developer. Most of the properties that were of concern have been acquired or are under contract, with the exception of the two properties located closest to 12 Mile Road. Next slide. Existing conditions. Next slide. And then site plan with elevations of the three-story facility, including driving range on the north end and restaurant drop-off area on the south end. Next slide. Photometric plan has been included, as well as for the driving range and the entire site. Next slide. And then this elevation or section through the property running north-south shows the netting that will be provided to curtail any of the balls being driven. Next slide. And before we open up to the public hearing, I believe Mr. Riddle and his team are available, including their traffic engineer, which we have asked to give a 35,000-foot overview of traffic and then be available to answer any specific questions that either the public or the council may have. And with that, Mr. Riddle, do you want to add anything to my overview?
Thank you, Terry. If you don't mind, I will add just a few comments, and then we'll get right to Lauren Warren from WSP on the traffic study. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. We are truly and tremendously excited to bring to you the iGolf development this evening, which is a multi-operational entertainment and sports venue to the city and to the community of Southfield. We think this is a dynamic
Mr. Riddle,
venue.
Mr. Riddle, I'm sorry. Someone has a TV or something on in the background. I would like to ask that to be turned on. I want to make sure we hear what you have to say.
Okay, we will.
Can
Yeah, we don't.
Can you? Anybody
We
that's
have
not
everything
talking?
muted outside of my call.
Hello, Mr. Riddle?
Yes, hi, Terry.
I just had to mute everybody with the exception of Mr. Riddle, okay?
Oh, I'm
Because
sorry.
we were getting feedback from somebody, so I temporarily muted everybody with the exception of Mr. Riddle right now, okay?
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. Again, Mayor and City Council members, we are truly excited to bring this tremendous development to the community of Southfield and the surrounding communities. We think this multi-operational venue for sports and family and group gatherings is an exciting new piece to the community. And with me this evening to address some questions that you may have, I've got Bill Eland with me, the project architect. I've got Jonathan Breitman with me on the real estate piece of it, Dr. Harsha Krishna and Dave Reddy from the ownership side of it, as well as with Lauren Warren from WSP, who did the traffic study, who are the engineers who did the traffic study. What I'd like to do, just to finish my open remarks, is move to Lauren Warren to have her give you, Terry, that and the group, that 35,000 flyover overview.
Can everybody hear me? Yep, I'm here. Yeah, so like Scott said, I just wanted to give you guys a brief overview. I also was a key part of the first traffic study for the originally proposed banquet center. And I think the biggest points to hit on are with the new proposed development of the iGolf Center, we're actually seeing a reduction in trips throughout the entire day, and most importantly during the peak hour, where the banquet center had a kind of strict in and out flush of traffic. The iGolf Center definitely has a more distributed approach in bringing people to and from the venue. To just close out, we didn't find any significant impacts that the additional traffic from this development would bring on the surrounding roadways. And I'll be here to answer any other questions more specifically if you need.
Through the chair.
Yep, Mr. Grote.
To the traffic engineer, there was a concern from the subdivision on the south side of the road. You talk about the alignment of the ingress and egress for your facility with regards to the ingress and egress of the subdivision to the south, please.
And I might let Scott speak to that one as well. I know originally one of the key concerns with the new driveway was the slowing and turning of traffic. And one of the biggest things we did was add that deceleration lane that would help traffic enter the site more safely. I'm just pulling up the overview of where the driveway aligns with San Marino.
And we had previously discussed about a right turn out only. Is that part of your plans?
That is.
And there's a engineered offset between the ingress egress of the proposed facility and the existing ingress and egress of the San Marino. Could you address that, please?
Oh yeah, is that at Pebble? Is that Formal Road, Pebble Creek? Where's San Marino, the formal name of the drive?
I believe there's two. There's two drives to two separate subdivisions on the south side, but I guess the concern was cut-through traffic. And I just said, I had stated previously, okay, there are typical engineering off, either you line it directly up with each other or there's offsets. And what we want to allay any fears about cut-through traffic and concerns about the homeowners coming and going from their property based on traffic that's generated from the new facility.
Yeah, so in terms of cut-through traffic, and looking at the drive, it is, like you said, offset. And so, and there really isn't a good access point by cutting through that subdivision that would lead back to, you know, a major roadway. Most of the people are trying to get to Northwestern, or back to, you know, one of the like 12 miles to go east or west. So I personally don't see a huge benefit to to cutting through. It would make more sense to go over to Inkster and to access, you know, whatever road you needed to north-south.
All right,
and we
thank
did
you.
eliminate the left turn into the drive, which was the biggest, I think, concern about people kind of gridlocking on 12 Mile.
Right.
So go back to that question.
Thank you. If you just could be available if there's any specific questions later on. Thank you. And through the chair, I guess it would be appropriate time to at least open the public hearing on the rezoning request first before we dive into any questions.
Okay, so we'll open up the public hearing for PZR 20-0002. On behalf of the owner, Ready Properties. If anyone wishes to speak to this particular matter, you can speak now, and you'll have 3 minutes.
We got one speaker, Mr. President.
Okay.
User 14.
Hi, my name is Daniel Kordakovsky. I'm a resident of Southfield, and yeah, I mean, I heard about this this project, and I think it'd be great. I was actually wondering when they would put one around the area. You know, having to drive up to all the way up to Auburn Hills is a pain, and you know, anytime that you know, I want to either take you know, go on a date night with my wife, or you know, take some of the guys out from the office, some of the people out from the office. It's you know, it's like a 20% chance that we'll make it all up to Auburn Hills, just because it's, you know, it's a real trek sometimes. So, yeah, I think this is an incredible project, and I would love to see this happen in our community. Hello?
We're still here, sir.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One second, we have another caller.
Okay.
Go ahead, we have one more caller. Go ahead, sir.
I hear somebody speaking.
No, it's no one speaking. It's your turn. You have a delay.
Oh, good evening, council. My name is Fred Bunker, 24201 Garner. As we saw in a parking lot last week, they did away with the driveway to save the permeable space in the city. I wondered how many acres of parking this is going to involve. And it seems as though it's right in the middle of the Rouge watershed. Are we going to be pumping water into that pond, or is that a retention pond? I'm worried that amount of parking lot is just going to add to the runoff that we're trying to, I think, we were told we're trying to limit the amount of parking lot runoff. Are these going to be discharged into storm sewers? However many acres. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, we'll wait another minute to see if we have anyone else.
Okay.
Mr. President, we don't have anyone else for this public hearing, sir.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Crowe, did you want to speak to the previous question first or to go to council first?
I do want to add one additional item for the council's consideration. Again, we're only talking right now about the rezoning from 10.7 acres of land, R2 single family, from R2 single family B2 to B3. Just in case there's any questions about B3, we did ask the applicant to put some deed restrictions about the more objectionable uses that could possibly be permitted under B3. They have agreed to do that. Those include gas stations, they include medical marijuana facilities, they include some of the other uses that may make the neighborhood nervous about a possible future. So I did want to share that they have agreed to eliminate any of those nuisance uses and a deed restriction if you were to favorably approve the B3 zoning.
Okay. All right, thanks. You're right on time. No. All right, then I'll start with Mr. Hoskins. Questions and concerns?
No questions for me on this. I think they pretty much answered the questions that I had. Some of the community members had about this, about the parking, not the parking, but the driving in and out, and then potentially going into their neighborhood. I think I'm satisfied with their answers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mandelbaum.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also satisfied with the answers they provided with the traffic study. So. I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Morris.
No questions. Thank you.
Ms. Taylor.
No questions. I'm satisfied with all the answers that we were given, and I'm very excited about this project if it is approved to go forward. Thank you.
Great. All right. Ms. Banks.
I have no questions, and I also look forward to the sports and family center facility golf.
All right. Thank you. And Mr. Brightwell, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Okay. No. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Shouldn't what's on PVR 20-002? Rezoning request. What do we have there? Discussion.
Yeah, but that's I think that's what we're doing first is item C. Yes, which is not what's on the screen right now.
Yeah, it's not on the screen. I do encourage anyone indicated to the call that they would be able to speak on this item tonight by way of video teleconferencing. So I have no additional for you.
Okay. Is it possible for us to take the slide back to item C before we vote so people can see exactly what this vote is on? Thank you. Okay, now entertain a motion.
Nancy Banks, I move that we approve public hearing PZR 20-0020 rezoning request of Scott Riddle on behalf of the owner Ready Properties to rezone the property from R2 single family residential and planned business to B3 general business located at 27050 West 12 Mile Road.
Support.
Support. All right, it's been moved by Ms. Banks, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we approve PZR 20-0002, the rezoning request of Scott Riddle on behalf of Ready Properties to rezone from R2 residential and B2 planned business to B3 general business at 27050 West 12 Mile. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell? Brightwell,
Yes. Yes.
Haskins,
Yes.
Vanderbaum,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Of PZR 20-0002.
All right.
Through the chair, this is Planner Crode. Be appropriate to introduce ordinance number 1726 at this time.
Council, can we get a motion?
Councilwoman Banks, I move that we introduce ordinance number 1726, rezoning request, PZR 20-0002.
Support.
Support.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Banks, supported by Mr. Mandelbaum, that we introduce ordinance number 1726, PZR 20-0002, rezoning request. Madam Clerk, again, can you please call the roll for us?
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Haskins,
Yes.
Vanderbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Okay. The introduction of ordinance 1726.
Okay.
Through the chair, if we could go to slide public hearing number D, please.
Okay.
Our next order of business is PSLU 20-0008, a special use request to Scott Riddle on behalf of the owner, Ready Properties, to allow for a golf recreation center with restaurant, banquet facilities, meeting rooms, lighted driving range, parking lot, property located at 27050 West 12 Mile Road. This would be the appropriate time if the council had any specific questions about hours of operation or site plan issues. I will comment that the storm runoff has to not be greater than the agricultural rate. So there would be required a detention pond that would handle any of the impervious surface runoff, and then it would be released at the agricultural rate. So the rate of what water would shed off the property under undeveloped conditions. But before we go to any specific questions, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Riddle's team if they wanted to respond to the stormwater issue.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. Yes, our engineered plans thus far show a detention basin. So all stormwater runoff would go to the basin and then leach into the storm system at the rate that you prescribed, an agricultural rate. It's all been engineered. We have adequate detention, and we are also thinking and considering maybe converting both detention as well as a water feature.
And Mr. Riddle, that also includes, per our requirements, a pre-treatment area that would handle sedimentation that comes off of the parking lot, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we have designed it per the city of Southfield's ordinance.
So with that, go ahead. Do you have any other?
Terry, if you don't mind, you raised the question about our hours of operation, and I would just like to make sure that we're clear in letting the council and the mayor know exactly what our hours of operation are. Because we're going to be a multi-faceted operation, for those that like to work out or hit golf balls first thing in the morning, we're going to open at 7 o'clock on Sunday through Thursday. Our hours are from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. And then the outdoor target golf will close down, and the operation will shut down at 11 p.m. That's Sunday through Thursday. On Friday and Saturday, our hours are 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and outdoor will then cease to operate, and then the facility and operation will totally close by midnight or 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
So yep.
So, through the chair, we have a public hearing requirement, and then we'd be happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
for PSLU 20-0008, which is the special use request of Sam Riddle on behalf of the owner, Ready Properties, to allow for a golf recreation center with restaurant, banquet facilities, meeting rooms, lighted driving range, parking lot at the property located at 27050 West 12 Mile Road. So the hearing is now open. Anyone who wishes to speak on this particular matter, please do so, and you'll have three minutes to speak.
Smith, we have a caller.
Okay.
My name is Donald Smith, and I represent the San Marino Villas Homeowners Association, and we have concerns about the one driveway for all of the traffic that's going to be coming in and out. We're very concerned that that's going to create a serious bottleneck right at the entrance to our subdivision. Secondly, we're concerned about the possibility of cut-through traffic coming into our very quiet subdivision we have no traffic lights, very few street lights, and lots of children. And thirdly, when this proposal was initially proposed, they promised that there was going to be a berm all the way across the front. It seems that berm has disappeared. There were going to be two driveways in and out previously. Now it's just one. And it's a totally different plan than the one that San Marino was in favor of the first time around. So we would like to see something done to create more than one entrance and exit from this facility. Just by the number of parking spaces, it's evident that there's going to be a good amount of traffic. I think that that completes the primary concerns that the residents of San Marino have about this new development. We're not opposed to the development. We would just like to see some consideration given to the traffic situation that we anticipate.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Mr. President, I'll unmute everyone on our attendee list to see if anybody wants to talk.
Okay.
Or public comments. So, and please turn your device down. If there's anyone that called in that wants to talk, the floor is open for you. President, it appears no one wants to speak on the attendee list.
All right, then public hearing is now closed. Council, I'll start with Mr. Mandelbaum.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Morris?
No comments. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Taylor?
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Banks?
Yes, I have a few questions. Thank you, Mr. Smith, for expressing your concerns on behalf of the residents of San Marino subdivision. I'm looking at I believe it's slide number 7 out of 22 for the site plan that was in our packet. I don't know if that could be displayed, but in reference to Mr. Smith's concern about berms, it looks like there's either berms or trees, and there's a retaining wall, and all of that is along 12 Mile. Do we know how high that is? Or am I reading this plan wrong?
This is Planner Crode. As you know, we discussed this on previous applications. They're required to have at least a 30-inch evergreen hedge to screen the fronts of the cars from the road. And there's a substantial amount of street trees that are planted along there. And I believe there is some decorative fencing with piers. And I'll let Mr. Riddle address the specifics of that, but there does seem to be quite about sufficient enough landscaping. We prefer the landscaping for clear vision zones as well as for security, that when a police officer drives by, your eye level is typically 3 feet. That's why we don't want the screening to be above 30 inches. And if it was complete berm, you wouldn't be able to see into the parking lot. And those extra eyes on the site help keep down anybody that wants to do no good there. But Mr. Riddle, do you want to address the landscaping along the frontage and some of the other concerns that were raised?
Yes, and thank you, Terry, for that. I appreciate it. I would like to go back to some of the, just briefly go back to the earlier comment regarding the entrance. That entrance is the same as what we had approved for the conference center, previous conference center that was voted up. So we have not relocated that. We've maintained that, and if anything, we've widened it a little bit so that we have 2 vehicles per side in egress and exiting the site. We cannot look or locate a second entrance off of Sherrydale, as an example, because it currently is a residential street owned by the city and has 2 resident properties that we are currently and still investigating whether we can purchase it. So we are actively pursuing that. But until such time that we would acquire those 2 properties, we have no jurisdiction and would not be able to use Sherrydale. And I don't believe that's good. That would not be a good design for the flow of customer traffic coming in and off of 12 Mile. To the other comment regarding we have jogged the entrance, which is in the same proximity as where we had it for the conference center. We've made sure that it does not follow right across the street from the San Marino people. I would also add that it is 5 lanes currently. We have added a de-acceleration and acceleration lane in and out of the property. So we've done everything we can to minimize any congestion or any interruption, certainly, or interference with the San Marino subdivision. I can have Lauren Warren comment in a minute further about specific traffic study results. I would like to add to the question about landscaping, Terry, briefly. We take the landscaping very seriously, as you do. We do have some screening, as an example, Pilot's Cove next to you, to our east, has asked, I'm sorry, they prefer landscape screening, so they're not sitting on their back porches and looking at a sea of parking lot, and we've provided that. Along the front, we've done it exactly according to your ordinance for the city of Southfield for landscaping. And we are planting, and if you look at the landscape plans, we are heavily concentrating landscaping to visually block or interrupt sight lines from any resident that surrounds our development. So we have, I believe, taken considerable steps to try to alleviate the issue of visual sight lines into the development. And I think we've done an adequate job thus far, and at least through our landscape engineer, of providing that screening that we've been asked to provide.
Mr. Riddle, Planner Crode again. Just, you know, it's hard to read at a certain scale, but there is a requirement for 30-inch evergreen hedge along the front parking lot adjacent to the road. That will minimize any headlights coming across. So maybe I need a blow-up detail of that, but that will be a requirement, okay?
Understand. We can provide you an elevation of that to show you heights and dimensions.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Ms. Banks may have some other questions. Did you want to have your traffic engineer respond at this point?
Yes. Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. Thank you, Terry, for the prompt. Lauren, could you please address Ms. Banks' comments or questions regarding the traffic?
Yeah, so some of the concerns I heard were wishing for multiple driveways. One of the key things in traffic flow is actually reducing the number of driveways to reduce conflict points. So this is a big safety issue to add another driveway just for kind of the sake of adding another driveway. The traffic report shows that one driveway is ample to getting vehicles in and out of the site. The majority of people would be coming from the east based on existing traffic flow and the freeways in the area. And so they would be turning right into the site. And those people move unimpeded. And because we have that decel lane, they would be moving out of the way of the traffic flow, just trying to travel along 12 miles. So we don't see bottlenecking by any means within this area due to this site. And I think, did I cover everything?
Well, there was a concern about cut-through. There was a concern about cut-through traffic.
A little bit about that at the beginning. I'm not sure if the resident was on. The major traffic flow is trying to go back to Northwestern or the freeway or mile to go east and west. So we just don't see very much traffic trying to travel south on Inkster, which would be the only means of exiting the site and traversing back to a major roadway. It just doesn't seem like a logical cut-through point for the majority of the vehicles coming from the site.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, no, I think you answered the questions. I just hope that Mr. Smith was able to see the plans that we have before us. Where your driveway is presently situated, there's no way they can just drive out and go straight into San Marino driveway because it is offset. And then you've got the, extra roads to get in and out of the complex. So right. No, I'm satisfied. And I think I just wanted Mr. Smith to be there and assured that there were a lot of trees, at least from this one visual I'm looking at, surrounding the whole property. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Very good questions. Mr. Brightwell?
Yes, I think this is a question you answered, but I do want to follow up on Mr. Smith. The traffic engineer and our developer, will the entryway be a right turn only to get in off of 12 Mile into the complex, and the exit, will that be a right turn only going toward east Inkster? Is that the intended traffic flow?
Were you able to hear that? I'm sorry, it was a little muffled.
I didn't understand anything Mr. Brightwell said. Someone could repeat it.
I think so. We tested it early today. My question is, the entryway, is there a right entryway off of 12 Mile? And when you exit the complex, will that be a right turn going toward Inkster? Is that the plan? Is that the designated entry and exit?
This is Planner Crode to the traffic engineer. If you could talk about the right turn in, left turn out scenarios. Basically, you had stated with the decel lane as you're traveling westbound, that would be easy turn into the property. But coming out of the property, are there any restrictions on turn lanes? And I thought you had said on west, there was a limitation on left in. But if you could restate the ingress egress turning movements, please.
Yeah, so the study does show that all turning movements would be allowed. I believe under the prior study, we did look at eliminating the left turn. Underneath this study, there are only 10 vehicles turning left into the site in the AM peak, and only 30 turning left in the PM peak. So there's a drastic, and there's a left turn in there. So there's ample space for those vehicles to do that without queuing into the intersection at Easter.
So if I heard that correctly, there's minimal left turns into the property. The majority will be right turns in, and that the queuing of those left turns in, even at peak hour, would not stack or interfere with San Marino's ingress and egress. Is that correct?
Correct. They're not anticipated to conflict.
Okay, thank you.
The next question I have is the concern about I'm quite concerned with that. I want to make sure I get Mr. Smith as far as open traffic. And I think I heard the traffic engineer indicated that there's not a major concern about people cutting through. What type of restrictions do we have will not have a bottleneck of that through?
It was very difficult to hear you, Mr. Brightwell, but I think you were asking about cut-through traffic. And again, the entrance of the proposed facility as well as the existing San Marino is offset. I looked at the map earlier today, and the only possible way if you cut through San Marino subdivision is exiting out onto Inkster. And I don't see how that benefits anybody, especially when you can turn left at the traffic light at Inkster and 12 Mile, but that doesn't take you to freeways. Most of the traffic is going to want to go eastbound to Northwestern to pick up the highway. So we don't believe it'll be minimum, if any. I just don't see the benefit of anybody trying to cut because of the limited access that you get by cutting through San Marino subdivision. And the way it's designed with the queuing, there should be a free flow of traffic for people turning out and wanting to go eastbound. If that's the gist of the question that I heard you state.
Dan, I think you have to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Can anyone else hear Dan?
No. No, I can't hear Dan.
I see him talking, but I can't hear him. We can't hear you, Dan. Councilman Brightwell, I'm sorry.
But it says muted, so I don't know.
We can hear you now.
My tablet says unmuted. But make sure Mr. Smith's concern was addressed. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Hoskins?
I don't have, well, actually I do have one question, but yeah, I too hope that Mr. Smith and the residents of the San Marino homeowners, I hope their questions have been answered. I think Mr. Riddle and his team have addressed things, at least to my satisfaction. My question is just more, if everything is done right and you got everything approved, if there are set times when this will be a facility will be open.
Mr. Riddle, do you have a timeline, or Mr. Crowe?
Mr. Riddle, can your team address your schedule for opening, please?
The designated target date for open and operations is June of 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Or sooner, Terry, if possible.
All right. Well, that was my only question.
All right, thank you. And will it be a year-round thing, meaning in terms of golfing outside, will you be heated golfing areas for the driving range portion, or no?
Yes, the bay areas for the golf outside are heated.
Okay, great.
And will be available 24 hours, all 12 months of the year.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, well, Council, if there's nothing else, we can entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Woman Banks, I move that we approve the special use request of Scott Riddle, PSLU 20-0008, golf recreation center with restaurant, banquet facilities, meeting rooms, lighted driving range, and parking lot on property located at 27050 West 12 Mile.
Support.
It's been moved by Ms. Banks, supported by Mr. Burwell. We PSLU 20-0008, the special land use request of Scott Riddle for a golf recreation center with restaurant, banquet facilities, meeting rooms, and a lighted driving range and parking lot. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Vanderbaum?
Yes.
Morris? Taylor? Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
PSLU 20-.
And through the chair, our last piece of this project is your consideration of the site plan review request, PSP 20-0006, to construct an 83,549 gross square foot golf recreation center with all the amenities previously described. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll ask for a motion on site plan PSP 20-0006.
Councilwoman Banks, I request that we approve the site plan review request for Scott Riddle. And I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me.
It's PSP 20-0006.
Thank you.
Yes.
And support, Councilwoman Taylor.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Banks and supported by Ms. Taylor that we approve the site plan PSP 20-0006. The site plan review request again of Scott Riddle. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Vanderbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Site plan PSP 20-006 approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, our next public hearing is PSLU 20-009, which is a special use request of Southfield Cannabis Company on behalf of the owner at 21342 Bridge LLC to allow for the conversion of an existing building to a medical marijuana grow facility, property located at 21342 Bridge Street. Next slide. Again, I'll remind council that this was previously approved as a caregiver facility a couple years ago. Council approved the text amendment to allow this to go to a grow and processing facility. It's located off of 8 Mile in the Bridge Street industrial corridor. And again, this is a conversion of an existing building to medical marijuana grow facility. Next slide. It's the area of future land use, includes technology corridor sub area within the light industrial. Next slide. Existing conditions, there'll be very little changes to the outside from what it's currently, a few upgrades to the site plan. Next slide. And next slide, please. This is the interior layout of the grow rooms and the cultivating and processing as discussed during the study session 2 weeks ago. Next slide. And then these are photo examples of the different grow rooms, just so the council can have an understanding of how many plants are located. I believe they're looking for a Class C license, which is 1,500 total plants. Next slide. And with that, if the applicant is available to give a brief overview, add anything that I've failed to mention, and be available for questions, please.
Yes, my name is Jason Crockett. I live at 4584 Oakhurst Ridge Road in Clarkston, Michigan. I'm speaking on behalf of David Dallow. I am their consultant. I did the design and all of the flow and their operation procedures for this company. You did cover most of everything, and I'm here with also our general contractor, Patrick Stu, who can actually answer any of the questions you guys have about the construction. So I'm here for any grow questions.
Could you confirm that, was I correct, it'd be 1,500 plants?
Yes, it would be a 1,500 Class C by state. State gives out different classes of license, A, B, and C, and we will be going for the Class C, which is the largest grow license, and the facility can only hold, right now, about 1,500 plants. Yes.
All right, thank you. So this is a required public hearing through the chair, and then after the public hearing, if the council has any questions, the applicant and myself will try to answer. Thank you.
This is a public hearing to the clerk. Is there anyone on the line?
Oh, you got it, Tanya? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. The public hearing is now open.
All of the, Madam Pro Tem, all of the lines are open if anyone wants to talk. So we'll wait a minute to see, but the attendee list is unmuted if someone wants to talk.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
One second. Maybe I have a caller. 1 second.
Yes, my name is Fred Sheeper. I live on Garner. I'm curious about the amount of parking. It's hard to see in the picture, and again, my concern for the impervious surface that this property covers. Will there be efforts to limit the rainwater runoff? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
This is Jason Crockett. Is he asking about, is there enough parking? I'm confused a little.
Mr. Crockett, you have to wait till the public hearing is closed to address this.
I am sorry.
It's okay. Thank you. Madam President Pro Tem, we'll give it another minute in case someone else comes in and close it out.
Okay, certainly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have one more person, caller number 17. Go ahead. We have another person.
Good evening. This is Lewis Williams.
Go ahead, Mr. Williams.
Yes. I wanted to express my opposition to the plan to have this marijuana grow business in our city. I asked the question, how many marijuana grow businesses and retail marijuana businesses are we going to have in our city? I believe the council recently approved a plan to have a marijuana grow business on 8 Mile. It seems our city is being singled out for marijuana grow and marijuana retail businesses. I say let them take these businesses to other cities, and that we don't want them here. I urge the city council to vote no on this plan to have yet another marijuana grow business in our city. Thank you.
Madam President Pro Tem, we don't have any more callers now.
All right, thank you. Seeing that there are no other callers, the public hearing is now closed. Mr. Crode, did you have any further comments, or did you want to give Mr. Crockett a chance? I think he wanted to chime in on one of the speaker's questions.
I think I can answer the parking issue. They are required to have 16 spaces. They have 17 provided, which does not exceed our 20% overage threshold. So there is no requirement to reduce any of the existing parking. So they meet the minimum and they're not over the maximum. So they're in compliance with our ordinance. I think that's the question that the public had. And with that, Mr. Crockett, if you have anything else you want to add before council has any final questions.
The only thing I wanted to add is, yes, this is going to be a very low traffic facility. It's just going to be for growing. There's not going to be any dispensing. So it's really, no one is even really going to know it's there. So we won't even be using that much of the parking for our employees.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, council, do you have any questions or comments? I'm going to start with Councilwoman Banks.
Questions or comments? Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
No questions.
Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Taylor?
No questions. We vetted this pretty thoroughly 2 or 3 times prior to now, so all my questions have been answered, but thank you.
I have no further questions as well. I'll turn it back over to Council President, who's back on the line.
Okay, so hearing none, we'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell. Make a motion to approve PSLU 20-009 special request.
Support. This is Councilwoman Morris.
Okay, so Mr. Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Morris, that we approve PSLU 20-009, which is a special use request of the Southfield Cannabis Company, LLC. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
and Brightwell.
Yes.
Okay, and that was for PSLU 20-009. Thank you.
All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yep, if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you through the chair. This is our last item this evening, as well as our last public hearing. PZTA 20-0002, a council-initiated zoning ordinance text amendment to amend the zoning code, amending sections 5.62A of Article 5, single-family residential districts, to allow for additional uses in the single-family district, and to amend section 5.53, subsection 3, historic districts, bed and breakfast of Article 4, general provisions, to remove stipulations regarding B&B locations and other amendments that may become necessary as needed for the city of Southfield. Next slide. Next. So we have previously discussed this item. This is, as we discussed, there's 2 or 3 historic homes that the city owns and maintains, the Code House in particular, the Simmons House, and 1 or 2 others that would give the city administration and the city the ability to lease for general business, not-for-profit, and possibly for bed and breakfast should one approach the city. That bed and breakfast would still have to go through special land use approval, but this expands the operations of existing facilities that are owned by the city that are in the current residential zoning district. So it's limited to only 2 or 3 sites throughout the city. It provides controls because the council won't have to approve a lease agreement and/or additional zoning. But this does give the city administration the flexibility and Parks and Recreation the opportunity to find a proprietor that's willing to help maintain the buildings as well as the heat, lighting, and create a source of income to offset some of the costs of these buildings while preserving the historic character. So that's it in essence. A public hearing is required, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have after the public hearing is closed. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Crowe. We will now open the public hearing for PZTA 20-0002. If anyone wishes to comment on this particular matter, please join the discussion. You have 3 minutes to speak to this matter.
Mr. President, all the attendee lists are unmuted if someone wanted to speak.
All right, thank you.
I have 1 caller, Mr. President, 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I remember about a couple decades ago, the city invested $250,000 in the Code House before it became a private residence for a temporary city administrator. And they pretty much tore the inside of the house out. My concern is the exterior. They're not showing the slide. The Code House is covered in asbestos. Are the people looking to spend a quiet weekend in Southfield going to be made aware that they're breathing toxic asbestos if they're anywhere on the site occupied by the Code House? This is amazing to me. We asked the federal government to remove asbestos from Target. This house sits surrounded with a densely populated area covered in asbestos. It can't be right rented out this way. Please review what's going on. Asbestos is toxic.
Okay, thank you.
We had a couple of some additional attendees. Did anyone want to speak that just called in? Everyone is unmuted, Mr. President. So.
Okay. Again, if anyone would like to speak to this matter, PZTA 20-0002, please make yourself known, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. President, I think we're all set, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. We will now turn to council for comments and questions. Ms. Morris, I'll start with you.
No questions for me. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Taylor?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Banks?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Brightwell?
No questions. Matter of fact, I like what you did because it gives the city more options to deal with everything that's going on.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Hoskins?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Manning?
No, I have no questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Crowe, can you speak to the who is this?
I believe the mayor was trying to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to assure the council that the shingles on the house, the code house, have asbestos in them. They are not dangerous unless they become friable. In other words, they disintegrate. But otherwise, they're not a hazard. There are a number of houses that were built years ago that used asbestos shingles.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. That was just what I was going to ask Mr. Crowe, just make sure that that statement was cleared up.
And if I could, through the chair, this just gives the ability for bed and breakfast. They still would have to come through special land use requirements and come back to council. Also, because it is owned by the city has control over leasing and maintenance agreements. So there's a lot of control on these particular properties.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Crowe. Anything else for anyone on the call before we take our vote? Oh, I will call the question. Would anyone like to make a motion?
This is Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes, Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve PZTA 20-0002.
Okay.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Taylor, that we approve PZTA 20-0002. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Okay, we have PZTA 20-0002.
And through the chair, our final piece of business tonight is to introduce ordinance number 1727.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Mr. Mandelbaum.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1727.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Taylor. We introduce ordinance number 1727. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Hoskins? Haskins? Haskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
And Brightwell.
Yes.
Introduction of ordinance 1727 adopted.
All right.
So, Mr. Chair, I want to thank the council. I know on behalf of Mr. Spence and myself, we've had a robust couple months, a lot of projects that have been moved forward. We have a little bit of a quieting August and September. There'll still be about 1 to 2 cases, but we appreciate all the effort that the council has put in. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate the effort of the office and everything you've done. Staying busy is a good thing. To be busy in the planning office, I think. So, but thanks for all your due diligence, guys, everyone in the office. We will now move into our communications portion of the meeting. Again, this is an opportunity for our residents to call in if they wish to speak to other matters that haven't been discussed this evening. So again, if you do wish to speak this evening, you can chime in, and we have 3 minutes per individual to speak. And we do have somewhat of a delay if people are not already on. So we'll give it a little time before we move forward. And Madam Clerk, she'll let us know when we're ready.
Well, right now we don't have anyone, Mr. President, so we'll wait with the delayed time and see if anyone wants to participate in public comment.
Okay, thank you.
We have one speaker, Mr. President. Go ahead.
Yes, I would like to give the council 3 minutes of silence in honor of the great orator of this country, John Lewis. May he rest in peace, and may we give some silent thought until his passing. Bless us all. Thank you, council.
Go ahead.
Hello, this is Harold Hill. I am asking one question. I know that the Supreme Court ruling was changed last week, and I was wondering if there will be a change in the way that we take some of the foreclosures and put them into the nonprofit that's coming up. I don't know the full details, but I know that there will be some reimbursement for some of those people that had their houses taken, and the portion of the house that wasn't the tax base will be reimbursed. So I just wanted to find out what the city council's views were on that, and that is my one question. Thank you.
Mr. President, we have a caller number 19 for public comment. Can speak.
Yes, this is Lewis Williams. I would like to express my concern and disappointment with the city's deeper involvement with medical marijuana grow and retail businesses. I hope our desire for tax dollars is not keeping us from seeing the many negatives involved with having marijuana businesses in our community, medical or otherwise. Negatives like potential increase in crime. In addition, for the marijuana grow businesses, the smell in the area of the businesses. They say they can eliminate the odor. We don't know that for sure. And I certainly would not want to live near a medical grow business, a marijuana grow business. I think it's safe to say that most of our citizens also would not want to live near such a business. Another concern is the fear of the increase of the chances of our young people being exposed to marijuana. I still ask the question, why do they have to bring all these marijuana businesses to our city? And I still say, let them take them somewhere else. I don't want Southfield to be known as the marijuana city of Southeast Michigan. Southfield, the family city, or Southfield, the all-American city, sounds a lot better than Southfield, the marijuana city. And that's a possibility. You might smile at the thought, but that's a possibility at the rate we're going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Texurica, over-exaggerating.
I don't think we have anyone else on the line, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. And thank you, community, for your comments. And as Mr. Bunker said, we definitely want to keep John Lewis in the front of our minds, the great representative that did so much for civil rights for so many of all of us to be where we are today. And we need to keep his memory in mind moving forward. So now I'll move to the council portion of the meeting. And I'll start with Ms. Taylor this evening. Do you have anything you wish to share?
Thank you. I too want to say that we should remember John Lewis as well, his passing, along with C.T. Vivian, Reverend C.T. Vivian, and others that have passed. I also want to remind everyone to, if you haven't already, to fill out the 2020 census. You still have time. We really need you to complete your 2020 census. It's 9 questions, and you can do it online, 2020census.gov. So I encourage everyone who has not to continue to do that. Also, we have an election on August the 4th. If you haven't already turned in your absentee ballot, please do so. As you know, voting is a right and a privilege, but it's very important. So please make sure you vote. And finally, I ask that everyone stay safe and continue to wear their mask, wash their hands, and social distance. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Banks.
Thank you. I concur with everything that Councilwoman Taylor said. Thank you.
Yes, all right. Councilman Brightwell.
I concur with what was previously stated by John Lewis and the other, Mr. Vivian. And the big thing I want to relate to the citizens is that please get out the vote. It can demonstrate to us that having wrong leadership in charge and leading the country where it has led. And so it's almost disgraceful what's going on in Washington. So please get out the vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll just echo everything that my colleagues just said. Please vote next Tuesday. It is very important that you exercise your right to vote and continue to wear your mask. We are, it's still unfortunately a pandemic and things are not going in the direction that we'd hope. So we definitely have to do everything we can to flatten the curve. That is all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Mandelbaum?
Yes, thank you. I will echo what all of my colleagues said. But I also had something additional I wanted to ask. I guess would be through the to the chair. Before we had this pandemic and we moved to our online meetings or telephone meetings, we had a list of different things that council members wanted to bring up and discuss. One of those things that I wanted to bring up and discuss was I want to talk about our Cable 15 and how it's operated and some ideas that I had. One of those things was the current resolution that we have that council members can't have a show or a program or anything like that. And I'm hoping that we can talk about it either when it comes up, either when we come back in person or even beforehand. But I recently saw a wonderful one-on-one that our council president did, and I was hoping that all of the council members were going to have a chance for that type of program.
Yes, I believe when Ms. Hawkins sent the email out with the video clip, the YouTube clip, it did say that everyone was going to have the same opportunity to have a one-on-one.
Okay, and then what about having our discussion around some concerns or some suggestions that I had around the use of cable?
Forward to me and Ms. Morris and Mr. Zorn, and we can start talking about those things and make a move towards our agenda so that we can talk about them as a group, maybe with some recommendations even before we get to full council.
Okay.
That'd be great.
I will do that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. Madam Pro Tem?
I just want to, you know, along with my colleagues, encourage everyone to get out and vote next Tuesday on voting day. It's very important. You can bring your ballot up to City Hall and drop it in the little box there. Very important to get out and vote. So we encourage you to do that. And that's it for me. No further comments.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Morris. Okay. Move on to Dr. Cyber. Mr. Mayor?
I have really nothing to add this evening. The council has expressed my exact feelings. Thank you so much. And that census number, that I don't know what that noise is, but
I don't either. Okay. Sounds like
844-330-2020. If somebody, if you don't want to go online or don't have a computer, you can actually call in and record your information. Again, 844-330-2020 is the call-in number for the census. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Zorn, you have 2 items for us this evening?
Yes, sir, I do. The 2 items I'm bringing forward tonight were not discussed at a committee of the whole. The first pertains to the resurfacing of the parking lot at Beechwood Recreation Center, asking for council to adopt a resolution to authorize us to proceed with the project. Total cost of $220,532.88. That figure includes a 5% contingency of $10,025.38. The work will be done in tandem with HRC and the city's current vendors, Allied Construction of Clarkston and JB Clarkston of Detroit, in completing the work. All of this work has been competitively bid, and as it uses our unit prices, that unit pricing has been applied. Mr. President, Terry Fields should be online with us in the event there are additional questions regarding this project. The scope of work is the resurfacing of the main parking lot at Beechwoods.
Okay. And where are the funds coming from for this?
The funds are they're coming from the land improvements account, a general fund account. The amount in the project amount of $220,532.88, and this was a project budgeted in the budget adopted at our June budget adoption.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Banks, any questions?
Yes, when will this project start?
We are hoping to start in the month of August. It could go into September.
And then how long will it take to complete the project?
Ms. Fields, can you answer that question?
I can. What we want to do is be careful not to start the project before the election. So as soon as the election is complete, we hope to get both contractors on site. They may be able to do some prep work beforehand, but that will be minimal. And we've been told 5 to 7 days, Councilwoman Banks.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't want it to interfere with the election, both the primary and the general. So you answered my question.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, great. Mr. Brightwell? You're on mute, sir.
I took it off. No question. My question was answered about as far as disrupting the things that are going on over there. And this is definitely needed. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hoskins?
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mandelbaum?
No questions, but this is definitely a very needed project. So.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Ms. Morris?
No questions, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Taylor?
I have no questions, but I agree with my colleagues that this is a much needed project. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Dorn, you need us to vote on this tonight?
Yes, sir.
Yep, okay. All right.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Mandelbaum?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the authorization to resurface the parking lot at Beechwoods Rec Center.
Support.
That's been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Taylor, that we approve the authorization to resurface the parking lot at Beechwoods Recreation Center. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Authorization to resurface parking lot at Beechwood Recreation Center adopted.
All right, thank you. MD? Mr. Zorn?
Yes, sir. The second item I have this evening is an authorization to enter into a lease agreement with Crime Stoppers of Michigan at the Berg. This item started in the fall of 2019. The administration was not in a position to have an earnest conversation with Crime Stoppers of Michigan until council took the action you took earlier this evening. That is permitting us to rent or lease space at within these historic properties. Crime Stoppers of Michigan, their mission is to empower people to anonymously report crime to prevent and solve criminal activities while increasing safety in our neighborhoods, schools, churches, and businesses. Its goals are to reduce crimes in southeastern Michigan, increase citizens' involvement in crime reduction, and make the region a better place to live and work and play. They have very little traffic coming into the facility. They occasionally will have press conferences. They also provide an extensive amount of counseling. Some of you will recall that the Simmons House at the Berg was previously used as a counseling facility. We're still in active negotiations. At this point, I really just want to make sure there's a consensus to proceed, and we're hammering out these terms. The proposed rental rate is $2,400 a month. It would be a 2-year term with the third year, with the third 1-year option. There are no separate meters in this building for gas, water, or electricity. So that rental rate would include the gas, electricity, and water. The lease would require a 1-month security deposit, and my recommendation is that we waive the first month's rent in consideration of the minor leasehold improvements to be undertaken by the tenant upon the consent of the city. Discussions with the assessor, the property will be put back on the tax rolls at about $1.30 a square foot, or approximately $3,200 annually. Again, I'm seeking a consensus, and the resolution reads for the that council authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into a lease agreement with Crime Stoppers of Michigan to lease the Simmons House at the Berg, subject to the terms previously stated as approved by the city attorney. They're looking to move in the 1st of September. And I wanted just to make sure we're moving this in the right direction. If I don't have something that looks like a strong yes vote, I don't feel it would be genuine to proceed with this dialogue. So if I could have that resolution adopted between now and our meeting on August 10th and the 17th, I should be in a position to bring it back to council with the final terms. I wanted to just lay these parameters out and make sure that, this is something council is comfortable with.
Things in my mind, maybe I'm just missing something. I'm hearing you saying one thing, you want a resolution approved or with a consensus, but it's reading as an authorization for the lease. Two very different things.
And as we wrote that, I didn't have the terms finalized with Crime Stoppers. We're still working our way through that negotiation, but I don't want to come to the 10th and the 17th and not have some consensus. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, I can live with the consensus tonight. Ideally, I'd like the resolution, but I am in a position that we could move forward on the 10th if council is willing to accept a Rule 10, or the 17th at the regular meeting.
Okay.
And again, until council took the earlier action this evening, I've had at least a half dozen meetings with them. And at every meeting, I've found myself simply explaining council needs to authorize our ability to lease this space out initially. Otherwise, we didn't have a product to have a discussion about.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. That was just my thinking. I don't know what everybody else feels. So we'll go through the group once again. Start with Ms. Banks.
Thank you. You said the property is going to be placed back onto the tax rolls. Is it correct to assume that Crime Stoppers will be paying the property taxes on this property?
That is correct. That's how I envision the lease being written after dialogue with the city assessor, and only the Simmons house will be placed on the tax rolls.
So let's just say they don't agree to that. I mean, you're saying this is still going to come back to us. So like what if they don't agree with that?
Well, it's not going to be, after discussions late last week with the assessor, there really isn't much room for that. Simply, that's as a matter of tax law, that's how that should be working. And I previously had indicated that we would be putting the property taxes on. Until last Thursday afternoon, I did not have an approximate number. So that I need to present the number to them. And you know, it's our intent to collect those property taxes.
Okay, who's gonna maintain like the parking lot and the grass and planting of the flowers around this building?
Parks and Rec will continue to do that level of maintenance. This is just the lease for the interior of that building. We will still be responsible for the grounds, the parking lot. Parks and Rec will still have full use of the remainder of the property. The museum, the fire station, the church, the gazebo, you know, the lighting at the Christmas holidays. Those we'll still be able to do all of those things.
Okay, good. And do you know what the hours for Crime Stoppers is?
Their business hours are mostly 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. I'm not aware of any evening events, but that is a possibility that they could be doing after hours for a family that's grieving a loved one. And when our human services department, when our counseling group operated there, we had a lot of after hours counseling happening there with the student interns.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have right now, Council President. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brightwell.
I'm supportive of it. And I was encouraged the fact that human services was physically housed there, and the fact that Crime Stoppers just come on board. I would love to see them there because I have an activity an activity there. I believe it extends that property, and it sort of makes sure that the property does not deteriorate. And we're getting to some more serious maintenance. And Crime Stoppers is worthwhile organization or national organization to be on our property, to be in that location. It does not detract from what we as the city are trying to do, of what we are about as far as control of our citizens and our residents. So from my vantage, I'm 100% supportive of this, and whatever deal we can work out or whatever works out, I believe will be beneficial to the city. Nothing else, just from a standpoint also. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Thomas.
No question for me. All the questions I had were answered by or asked by my colleagues. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mandelbaum?
Thank you. Mr. Zorn, if something were to happen in the home or the building with the normal wear and tear, who's responsible? Is that going to be worked out in the lease?
We would need to work that out within the lease. If it's an interior item, I would probably, that'll probably fall to the tenant. The exterior we'll be responsible for the roof, the grounds, the exterior of the building. Just to remind council, 2009-10, we put almost just under $500,000 of community development block grant monies, as well as the city stimulus CDBG funds into this building. It is a very unique structure. None of the interior walls can be moved around because of the timber frame building on the inside. But in addition to that, the tenant will be responsible for providing the city the appropriate insurances.
Okay. Thank you very much. No other questions.
All right, thank you. Ms. Morris?
Yes, I'm just happy to see that there is additional use for that facility. and also glad that it is Crime Stoppers. I know that Councilman Brightwell has spoken on quite a few occasions about this organization, and I'm happy that we'll be providing a new home for them in our city. So nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Taylor? Right ahead, Ms. Taylor.
I said I had no other questions. Everything have been asked and answered, so thank you very much.
All right, very good. So again, Mr. Zorn would like for us to take a vote on this tonight if we feel comfortable enough with it, at minimum, if it's just a consensus. And whoever Word document that is up on the screen, so we don't want to see Ms. King's information. Thank you. What's the pleasure of council? Anybody that wish to make a motion?
Mr. President, if it's a consensus, are we voting on this, or is Mr. Zorn bringing it back?
Yeah, Mr. President, why don't we change enter into negotiate an agreement? And that gives me, and again, when I put this together, I didn't know where the council was going to land on the proceeding. But if we simply change the word to enter in, if we just to allow the city to negotiate an agreement with Crime Stoppers and bring it back to council the 10th and 17th. Again, I didn't want to get to the 17th knowing they're looking to move September 1st and not have some direction from council that there is a comfort level.
Yeah, that's, in my mind, that sounds a lot more amenable. I'd like to, that means it's definitely coming back.
Yes, sir.
So that so you guys can move forward with making negotiations, bring back the proposal, and then we can vote on the proposal at a later meeting. So that's fine with me. If anyone else would like to make a motion on that with the changes Mr. Zorn has proposed.
This is Councilman Mandelbaum. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the city administrator to enter into negotiations with Crime Stoppers of Michigan on a lease agreement for the Berg property. And once an agreement is reached, it comes back to City Council for final approval.
Support.
Okay, been moved by Mr. Mandelbaum, supported by Ms. Morris, that we approve the city administrator to negotiate with Crime Stoppers in a lease agreement at the Berg with final approval coming back to a later meeting at our next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there anything else that anyone else had on this before we take a vote?
That was Councilwoman Taylor with support.
Taylor, I apologize. Please make that change. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Morris. Morris.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Cruz.
Yes.
Banks.
Yes.
Brightwell.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Zorn, I think you're all set. Anything?
All right, thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, did you have anything for us this evening?
Just something real quick. As everyone alluded to, Election Day is on Tuesday, August the 4th. All 36 precincts will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Currently, as of today, the clerk's office, we've mailed an all-time high for a primary election, 21,322 absentee ballots, and we have returned 8,356 ballots returned, so we are about a 39% return rate. Just wanted to be noted that the mail has been running slow, So we're encouraging individuals, if they can, to drop off your ballots in your in the mailbox in front of City Hall or here in City Hall. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we also will be open this upcoming Saturday for voting from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you have any additional election-related questions, feel free to contact my deputy clerk, but we're encouraging all of those where it's possible to vote absentee, to stay home and stay safe. And lastly, I do want to just thank the council and the mayor and everyone who participated in this call. I think our call went much better this week than it did last week, and we're getting more familiar with our new technology. So my sincerest thanks to everybody. Thank you.
And our thanks for you for continuing to coordinate this effort. And it is definitely was a little bit smoother this week. And just like any new thing, it takes time. So thank you as well for all your hard work. Mr. Laurenberg, do you have anything this evening?
Yes, I just wanted to let the audience know that we have a deferment program available for our taxpayers. Anyone that is a veteran or a handicapped individual or anyone elderly over the age of 62 and household income of $40,000 or below can qualify for a deferment, which they can pay their taxes and get extended all the way. Typically, we work with the county. It'll go until April even, but officially we allow it until February because that's when we close our books at the end of February. And there's no interest, and they can make partial payments along the way. So the application is available on the website as well as also at the treasurer's counter in City Hall. So hopefully everyone can take advantage. They can qualify. Please let anyone that you know that would be able to take advantage of this. They can please apply. Deadline for application is September 14th. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That's good news. Glad to hear that. Mr. Crowe, anything? I guess he got tired of talking this evening. He had to All right, is our assessor or engineer on today? Anything from them? All right. As for the rest of the meeting, we don't have anything to schedule or any other ordinances to approve. The council has asked to go into closed session, or our attorney has asked us to go into closed session. So I entertain that motion.
Mr. Chair, I make the motion that we go into closed session.
Support.
I've been moved by Mr. Brightwell and supported by Ms. Taylor that we go into closed session. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins? Haskins?
Yes.
Vanderbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Motion to go on closed session adopted.
Thank you. So council, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Know that everyone should log off of here and call into the private line for the closed session meeting. And we'll talk in just a few moments. Thank you.